Okay, so this first video on division, we're going to start off with small problems and we'll gradually get bigger. I'll probably make 2 or 3 videos for division because we'll start with 2-digit, then 3-digit, and then 4-digit. So, and then with remainders and without remainders. And this one will be without remainders. Okay, if you have your notes in front of you, you should have your notes in front of you. If you do not have your notes in front of you, you need to pause this video, get your notes, and then um, come back to the video. All right. Um, I guess we haven't done this in class yet. But to solve this, we use DMSB. DMSB stands for divide, multiply, subtract, bring it down. And then I added an S on the end for start over. So DMSB, divide, multiply, subtract, bring it down. That's the first step. I'm going to write DMSB down the side. Okay, so before we even start with this, there are a couple of vocabulary words that you need to know. And those are divisor and dividend. Okay, now look at number 1. It says 64 divided by 8. Okay, the number that's being divided is our dividend. So we're dividing 64, so 64 is our dividend. We're dividing 64 by 8. So 8 is the number that's doing the dividing. So 8 is our divisor. Our dividend is the number being divided, which is 64. Our divisor is the number that we're going to divide by. So 8 is our divisor. And when we use the long division bar, because that's what we're learning, long division, the divisor always goes on the outside and the dividend always go on the inside. So now we have 8 on the outside, that's our divisor. 64 on the inside, that's our dividend. Okay, and if you should have your notes in front of you, you see those 2 words, those 2 vocabulary words, divisor and dividend. Okay, so we're going to start with D. D says, how many times does our divisor go into our dividend? Well, basically, we're saying, let's go back. Before we start dividing, we need to think of division as asking, how many groups of the divisor can we get out of the dividend? So how many groups of 8 can we get out of 64? That's what we're asking. How many groups of 8 can we get out of 64? So we're going to figure that out. And that answer will be called our quotient. That's in your vocabulary words as well. Okay, so let's start with D. D stands for divide. How many times does 8 go into 64? To get this, we say our 8s until we say 64. If we don't say 64, we want to get close to 64 without going over. So to do this, we're going to say our 8s until we say 64. And how many fingers we have up, that's our answer. So let's sing our Miss Stanton's multiplication song. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64. Okay, I said 64. And I have 8 fingers up. So I can get 8 groups of 8 out of 64. So this 8 goes on top of the division bar. And since I'm dividing the entire 64, that 8 is going to go on top of the 4. I'm going to check off the D because I just divided. The M stands for multiply. This number on top, this 8, is called your quotient. We're going to multiply the quotient times the divisor. Okay? Let me put a little X right there. Quotient times the divisor. So what's 8 times 8? If you don't know, let's sing the song again. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64. 8 times 8 is 64. I write that 64 right up under the 64. And I just multiply. So I check that off. Now I'm going to subtract because that's what the S stands for. That's what I'm doing next. Well, 64 minus 64 just gives me 0. So I subtracted. The B stands for bring another number down. However, I don't have another number up here in the dividend to bring down. So that means I'm finished. So 64 divided by 8 equals 8. This means that I can get 8 groups of 8 out of 64. Because it's saying, how many groups of 8 can I get out of 64? I can get 8 groups of 8 out of 64. Let's do another one. Okay, so number 2. We'll do 98 divided by 2. So again, 98 is the number that's being divided. So that's our dividend. 2 is what we're dividing by. So that's our divisor. When we write the long division bar, divisor always goes on the outside. Dividend always goes on the inside. Okay. So this question, 98 divided by 2, is asking, how many groups of 2 can we get out of 98? How many groups of 2 can we get out of 98? I'm about to move this up some because I didn't leave any room up here. So 98 divided by 2. Oh, you can't see it. Okay, you can see it now? Okay, 98 divided by 2. Okay, and put it back down. So 98 divided by 2 says, how many groups of 2 can I get out of 98? Okay, I'm going to start with DMSB. D stands for divide, multiply, subtract, bring it down. Now, 98 is a large number, okay? And I don't want to say my 2's up to 98. So I can split 98 up from the 1s and the 10s, okay? So I'm going to split this number up, and I'm going to underline the 9. Because I'm going to underline that because that's what I'm going to divide first. I don't want to say my 2's all the way up to 98. So I'm going to start with just the 9. And I'm going to divide. How many times? I'm going to ask myself, how many times does 2 go into 9? So this is the D. How many times does 2 go into 9? To get this, I say my 2's until I say 9. If I do not say 9, I get close to 9 without going over. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I passed over 9. So that means I need to go 1 below 9 because I need to get close to 9 without going over. So 2, 4, 6, 8. I have 4 fingers up. 2, 4, 6, 8. 4 fingers up. That 4 goes on here. That's my quotient. I just divide it. Now I'm going to multiply because that's what the M stands for. So 4 times 2 equals 8. That 8 goes right up under this 9. And I just multiply. Okay, and I'm going to subtract.